a better Nigeria? Is it a myth or do we keep hoping?
Nigeria is a highly religious country. How come corruption thrives?
Why is adoption not encouraged in Nigeria?
Is there a future for the Nigerian youth?
Being rich and famous, is that the only drive to be an artist?
What makes a great nation? Is it the leaders? What about the people?
This is Answers with Dr. Reju. Hi, my name is Onari, and this is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified. Today's episode will be a synopsis of the insightful and painstaking series we have had on governance over the past 3 months. During this period, we have engaged you, our listeners, with topics such as citizenship. We affirm that when citizens have full understanding of their roles, then they will begin the journey to ensuring good governance in our country. Do you remember the episode on mentorship, where we discussed on how important it is for good leaders of today to have proteges, people they can pass sound ideologies to and guide to becoming future leaders? Again, on this series, we spoke about how vital it is for everyone to be politically educated. Episode 13 navigated through the obvious defects in our society. Here, listen to Dr. Reju's take from that episode.
Yeah, sometimes when we look at these issues and we ask questions, sometimes we're very quick to just throw in a particular simplistic solution. But many times it's not that easy, because when we say that a defective society throws up the wrong people, it is not that some people are just hand-picking people. Wrong people come up because it's become systemic. If you're going to reverse the order, we also need something that throws up the right people to be also systemic. But the issue here is that the Nigerian society is so, it's so difficult to do things right. It's really difficult, but it's not impossible. It's not impossible. So it's going to require that within the limits of the difficulty, what can I, as an individual, do to make sure that in my own little space, right, I can begin to do things in the right way. Excuse me. So that, it's not that you're just taking advantage of a defective system. So the leadership plays a role, but whatever the leaders would do, there has to be a response to from the people. And the principle of leadership. I think you were the one that mentioned it, that the leaders come from the people, right? In the same way, it's going to start with, fine, there are things wrong, but what can I do in my own little space to make sure that I do things right? But I must tell whosoever is making up his mind or her mind to do things right, that you're going to run into a lot of brick walls. So it takes a lot of courage, it takes fortitude, it takes a strong determination that I want to be part of a good society. I can do my part. And I always believe something too, that in Nigeria, with all the problems that we have, the challenges present also opportunities. Why, for instance, will I drive on the wrong side of the road just because everybody does it? The level of decay in terms of value system in Nigeria, maybe that's another thing I need to emphasize. We've not even come to terms with how terrible things are. Do you know that most Nigerians don't know how to drive on the right? They don't know how to drive on the right. It's become normal. In fact, some road signs are wrong. Some road signs are wrong. The junction to my office, the road sign there is wrong. If you follow the road sign put there by, PW, you will be making a U-turn driving on the left. So that's how terrible it is. But it takes that individual to say that I want to do things right. I want to do things right in my own little space. But my warning is that in your determination to do things right, you want to show a lot of courage because you are going to be the odd person out. So in the middle of all the problems in Nigeria, there are opportunities to actually begin. So when I choose to do things right, when Obi choose to do things right, when Adams choose to do things right, when Onari choose to do things right, unknown to us, we're already creating a system, and it can get quite infectious. But it takes time. It takes people who can be there for the long haul. I don't know if I answer your question, but I think people are responsible for a society that throws bad people up. People will also be responsible for a society that throws the right people up.
Well said, Dr. Reju. Now, the number to send text or chat us on WhatsApp on this program is 081 4456 9000. That's 081 4456 9000. Again, Dr. Reju is of the opinion that the ability to communicate plays a vital role in leadership because ideologies and philosophies, which should be the foundation of every great nation, or any nation that inspires to be great, it has to be soundly passed across so people can internalize and live out. Our emphasis on ethnicity has been a major undoing, in as much as we can't and shouldn't shy away from the fact that we indeed are different. Dr. Reju says we must also de-emphasize our differences to allow those things that unite us gain grounds enough to allow unity and prosperity even in our diversity. Listen to this clip from episode 19 of this revolutionary radio program.
What should we use to appraise good government? Is it the ones who favor our ethnic group, the ethnic group from which you come from better? Or the ones that favor the religious group we come from better? Or the ones that favor our pockets, the economy better? I mean, what should we really use? I'm asking this question because whenever we go, to online newspapers and we see the commentaries on a news item, you can always
by the names,
you can always
and
split the commentaries. Exactly, you can split the commentaries into ethnic considerations, into other more objective considerations, and then others into. So
one thing I would say, because to a large extent, this program we want to, it benefits all, but we really want a situation where we really speak to young ones, the one I would love to call the emerging leaders. If we don't look at what brought us to where we are, which I believe we all don't like, we will not be able to chart a way forward. One of the things that has actually affected this country negatively is the ethnic lens that we use to look at every issue. But we said something at the beginning of this whole program that the way the Yoruba man feels hunger, it's the same way the Igbo man feels hunger. If there's economic meltdown, it has one name. It's economic meltdown. That's not a Yoruba word. That's not a Hausa word. That's not an Igbo word. So maybe I should use this opportunity to challenge the young ones. Let's commit time, right, to a bit of study the history of this country. Honestly, it will give us a very good insight into where we are and how we need to chart a way forward. I also said something that the leaders that we've had in this country over the years, maybe it's something that's deliberate, maybe it's orchestrated, maybe it's just a happenstance, but I believe it's a bit deliberate. There has been a weakening of the citizenry so that we would not be able to say the thing that this program is challenging us to do, the thing that this program is actually challenging us to do, which is keep the government accountable. We don't have the necessary resources in terms of information, in terms of the knowledge of history, in terms of even economic strength to be able to do that. So when you see citizens kowtow with government, it's worrisome. It's worrisome. Something that we need to confront in this country is the ethnic sentiments. Ethnic sentiments. Those who actually play these cards, they don't really favor the ethnic groups. Look at it today. We have all the governors in our states are from those states. Are the states developing? At all. So we need to know that there is a whole, it's as if there's a whole grand plan to keep the citizens in a perpetual state of misery. And citizens need to rise up, against such a thing. We shouldn't allow people to play this ethnic game. It has only benefited a few.
There is no place like home. Home, sweet home. This is a line a lot of people quote. But can we appreciate this quote with all the defects in our country? This is the reason we take the time in this program to clarify our issues, so we can see clearly the path that leads to the nation of our dreams. There is also a popular saying that those who don't know history are bound to repeat the mistakes of history. In episode 20 of this program, Dr. Reju took us through his reflections on some books he's been reading about the history of Nigeria. Take a listen.
This book, which I strongly recommend, it was written in 2009 by a guy called Mark Siloan. It's a book titled Oil, Politics and Violence. It's a story of the coups between 1966 and 1976, that 10-year span. And, my take from that book, reading that book, it sort of impressed something on my heart that for this nation to continue, for us to continue our journey into the nation of our dreams, that book basically tells me something. There are some issues we need to revisit. There are some issues that we really need to revisit, because the foundation of this country, which still, because most of the things that this guy spoke about in that book, they are still very active today. In fact, it's as if it's still very, very recent. Issues like the 1966 coups, there were two of them. There was the January, there was the July. And I think the issues raised in those coups are still with us. Three things for me there: the January 1966 coup, the July 1966 coup, and then eventually what led to the Aburi conference in Ghana, where the issue of regional autonomy and all those kind of things. And you discover that reading the discussion of these leaders, these brilliant guys in Aburi in Ghana, it's as if this is happening in 2015, because we're still talking in this day and age. This is how many years ago, and we're still talking now about the Sovereign National Conference, because we have not sat down to look at those issues. Now, the fear is that we don't want to go apart, right? But that fear, someone, in leadership circles, we say that a bad decision is better than a non-decision.
Yeah. Sorry, sir.
Yeah.
What we have always heard about the Aburi conference was that at the Aburi conference, Colonel Ojukwu, right, asked for a secession.
That's not what this guy said. Okay. That's not the position of this guy. In fact, if you read the book, you discover that the part of the country that first of all asked for secession was the North, because then the country was in regions. What happened was that two key, brilliant, leaders from the North were killed in the coup of January 1966, and there was, according to this guy, there was a reprisal in July, and in that reprisal, one of the demands was that the North should pull away, but there was no consensus. So that tells me that there's always been in this country that sentiment of togetherness, right? But the issue we have now is that this togetherness, on what basis? Now, that was the issue. According to Marx, I wasn't alive. I mean, I was a young man. I was about 4 or 5 when this Aburi thing was happening. So I don't even, I don't know. But I was playing with my toys then. That what happened in that conference, and I want to believe that there are tons of resources out there, that one can actually use to check. But what happened at the Aburi was regional autonomy, and they were made to sign. But according to him in that book, there was, the present government then reneged on it, right? They reneged on it because now our main cost today, we've already discovered, which is oil. So those are the kind of things we need. The issue is, don't take my word for it. This is my own take. We all need to go read this thing. There are many, when the xenophobia happened in South Africa, the issue in South Africa then was a lack of history. They were killing Nigerians because there is a whole active generation in South Africa today who didn't know the input of Nigeria in pulling down apartheid. So they were actually destroying the people that liberated them. I know a man in this city who told me he was a student in London at that time, he marched in London against apartheid. He's a Nigerian. He lives in this city. He's an active politician. So, but if people don't know history, we need to revisit those things. There are many other personal things that I have seen in that, having read other opinions, and I'm able to. I see this book as being very objective. Has been very objective. But there are many things we've been told to believe about the history of Nigeria, and like he concluded it, that a lot of things are kept in secret because the actors in those kind of happenings, then many of them are still alive. So there are a lot of things they don't want us to know. And if we don't know those things, we don't know what to demand. So my take from that book is, honestly, there's so much buried in our past that we need to exhume and really come to terms, because finally I will say this. Everyone in this country, from then and what I see today as an adult, that they have played the tribal ethnic card, they have only done it to please themselves. They have not really done it to really please the ethnic group. They've not done it to please that tribe. It's been personal, it's been family. You discover something in that book, how small, how related biologically, blood-wise, people who rule this country are. So the book is out there. Oil, Politics and Violence. The story of Nigerian coups 1966 to 1976.
And now we take a pause to hear from our sponsors.
There are cooking oils and there are cooking oils, Of course. There are those that foam like soap when you put them on fire. And there are those that go to sleep after a few days. There are even those with funny odors that make neighbors wonder what's happening in your kitchen. I beg, don't kill me, oh. But then again, there is Grand Pure Soya Oil, made from pure soya seed. Grand Pure Soya Oil is cholesterol-free, which makes it ideal for the heart and health conscious. It neither foams nor fumes, neither does it congeal even at low temperature. Grand Pure Soya Oil is also endorsed by the Nigerian Heart Foundation as heart-friendly oil.
Let me go and get my own Grand Pure Soya Oil, Joe. Oil that doesn't smell or sleep.
Grand Pure Soya Oil, a heart-friendly oil you've always known.
Welcome back from the break. This is Answers with Dr. Reju, where critical life issues are clarified, and the number to text us on or send us a WhatsApp message is 081-4456-9000. Now, what kind of resources do we have at our disposal to be able to fight corruption in terms of investigation and prosecution that will not be colored by political sentiments? Have you ever wondered if we will ever be able to have a judicial system that is very independent and that will look at the law for itself without interference? What about our police force? Wouldn't you agree that it has to be totally revamped? Here's what Dr. Reju has to say about that.
What we have lacked over the years is that our government officials, they've always had a field day. They've always had a field day. The culture of impunity, which is the bane of our society today, actually starts from there. It starts from there. So the society, the citizens are just, as long as, they're okay, they don't really care. So they bring the heat, and after a while, one of them will enter into politics, and that's the end of it. And then we start the whole process again. But for the purpose of where we are, what we should be actually be rooting for is that we want to see a functional police. I can't get away from that. We can keep talking and talking and talking and talking if we don't have the correct structure, correct infrastructure, really investing heavily in the police in terms of training, in terms of exposure. Because if we go on like this, we can even get involved in another thing that is more corrupt than what we are trying to correct. If we jail somebody, who is innocent, if we don't have the correct investigation, I want to see a policeman who can ask great questions. We want to see technology like the way we see it abroad, when somebody is lying and that kind of a thing. Our problem here is that we have not been able to create an environment where the law takes its course. That's the issue here. And I say that we cannot afford to have a system where we are using corruption war as a political game. Let's build a structure. It's as if we keep we're just repeating this. Let's build the structure. Let's have the infrastructure. We have a police force, that's the structure. But are they well resourced? Do they have the requisite training? Can they do their work, the work they want to do? Do they have? I mean, there was time I said, in one forum that the lowest paid policeman, right, should be higher than an assistant manager in a bank. Because that lowest paid policeman might need to arrest the assistant manager in the bank one day. If the guy can use money to dissuade him, then there's a problem. And it's not only money, right? It's not only money, right? But the whole package of the guy's office, he must be able to look at the manager in the face, and say that I'm a policeman and, you are under arrest. But if you're going there and the first thing the policeman will say is Oga, or he will salute the guy, that's the system that we have in our hands. So what's playing out there, if we can't see a connection between that and a police that is being reformed, being retrained, being structured properly, I still believe that we're just still playing games. There is pride being a policeman.
Yes. And dignity.
Yeah, but we don't have that here. You look for a job you can't get, you go and join the police.
Exactly.
That's not how to build a law enforcement agency.
And that was from episode 22 from the series on governance. Recently, on the episode we had on the Nigerian Constitution, we had a barrister of law educate us on issues such as whistleblowing. Now, this program is committed to enlightening the citizen, empowering them with the knowledge they need to have, even as we work together to build society aright. Listen to this piece from episode 24.
There are a lot of information out there that there are a lot of facts about graft, about financial impropriety that is in the custody of people. But people are very reluctant in coming out. It's so nice that we have a lawyer here today. That people are reluctant about whistleblowing. Is there, because I remember on a very mundane, elementary level, in those days, you see a road accident. Somebody is dying, and you pick the person to the hospital, and the police arrest you. That maybe you are the person. So you see somebody dying, you don't want to run into, being police net, you just leave the person to die and just drive off. So in our law, Barrister Madaki is here. In our law, where can citizens find their own protection in terms of whistleblowing, in terms of being able to come forward with information? And I know that as a former banker, if I'm privy to some information as regards my, within my professional circle, I signed to an oath of secrecy. But that doesn't prevent me from telling my management about something that has gone wrong. In that sense, I am protected. And I know that internationally, that if somebody, gives information about maybe a criminal or a suspect, he or she is protected. Do we have such in our laws? If we do, which I want to believe we do, how can citizens take advantage of that kind of protection?
Thank you very much, sir. Well, when we talk about whistleblowing, disclosing glaring and blatant acts of like what the example we just gave right now of corruption, the laws in Nigeria are very, very clear. Somebody joked and said Nigerian laws are so many that we don't even seem to have account of them again. The American Constitution is just barely 1,000 words, but the Nigerian Constitution alone is about 318 sections. But you see, just 1,000
That's
words.
That's my problem with that law. Sections, paragraphs, chapters.
Very true. And nothing is being done about it. And then we are even having a situation where our laws are beginning to conflict. For instance, we are now having the Whistleblowers Act. We have the Freedom of Information Act. And then we have some provision. We have the Official Secrecy Act. So you wonder, what are we doing? Where are we going to? So I think at an individual level, yes, the Constitution allows you gives you what we call the freedom of expression. Now, since the Constitution is simple in legal parlance, what we call the ground norm, that simply means it is the basis upon the Nigerian Republic. That any other law that conflicts with it is null and void. So that means you have the right to express yourself. Now, but no rights are absolute. We have checks to write. So you can express yourself, but mind somebody else's rights. So yes, you can be a whistleblower, but don't forget that there are issues of defamation of character. There's the issue of libel. Now, in the case we're talking about Dr. George, he did a he took a wise step, which I encourage Nigerians to do. You have facts that you want to put across, but because of the nature of the system we operate, one thing you can do, you go through civil society organizations.
Okay.
Because they are respected. They are respected. They know what to do. You can use them as a cover. All you just do, supply facts. Supply facts to them. They can take it upon themselves. But the laws, yes, you should ordinarily have protection. But we know that when the chips are down, actually, you're going to be visited with more than what you bargained for. So in order to hide from that, please, we advise to blow the whistle. Blow it well, but use these SCSOs because
that's a point that needs to be emphasized for citizens. Sort of information.
Yes.
It is better to use civil society organizations.
So there you have it, listeners. A brief summary on that series. All episodes of this program goes live on our website and social media platforms immediately after it airs here on Rhythm 93.7 Jos. So go to answerswithdrredu.com. Listen, download, keep yourself empowered. Contact us via email on answerswithdrredu@gmail.com for partnerships and interactions. Our next series is going to be on family. Keep a date with us every Friday by 5 p.m. and join the conversation because here on Answers with Dr. Redu, critical life issues are clarified. Give us a call or chat us on WhatsApp on 081-4456-9000. Check out our website and interact with us on www.answerswithdrredu.com. Like our Facebook page, Answers with Dr. Redu, or send us an email at answerswithdrredu@gmail.com. On Twitter, we are @DrReduAnswers. You can also subscribe to our YouTube channel, Answers with Dr. Redu, where you can get all our episodes. Join us again on Answers with Dr. Redu, where critical life issues are clarified.